Let me tell you a secret. The men women dream about, the ones they remember long after they're gone, aren't always the richest, the most muscular, or the best looking. Sometimes, it's the quiet one in the corner. Sometimes, it's the man who walks into the room and doesn't need to say a word. She just feels it. The weight of his presence. The steadiness in his eyes. The calm beneath his confidence. This is not about playing games. This is not about tricks or manipulation. This is about something raw. Something rare. Something no woman can explain, but every woman feels. And it's not something you're born with. It's something you become. Because being irresistible to women isn't about being perfect. It's about having a certain gravity, a pull, a way of existing in the world that says, I know who I am, I know what I want, and I don't need you, because I'm already whole. It starts with one thing, silence. Not the awkward kind, not the passive kind, the powerful kind, the kind of silence that comes from a man who is not desperate to fill space with noise. A man who listens more than he speaks, who chooses his words like they matter. Because they do. You see, a man who can sit in silence and not feel the need to impress, entertain, or prove anything, that man is dangerous. That man is magnetic. Because silence shows strength, it shows composure, and women feel it. They feel the peace in you. And peace is rare in a world that screams. That's why the loudest guy in the room might get her attention, but the quiet one with calm eyes and a steady soul, he's the one she thinks about when the night gets quiet. But silence means nothing without presence. That's the second invisible force. Presence is when you're really there. When your mind is not drifting. When you look her in the eye and actually see her, not as a conquest, not as a fantasy, but as a person. Most men talk to women while thinking about what to say next, or how they look, or what they hope happens later. But when you're present, truly present, she feels seen. And that feeling, it disarms her. It opens her. It makes her lean in. You don't need the perfect words when you're fully there. Your energy speaks louder than your voice. And women are tuned into energy more than anything else. Presence tells her you're not like the others. You're not chasing. You're not trying. You're just being. And that alone is intoxicating. The third thing, stillness. Not physical stillness, but emotional stillness. A man who doesn't flinch every time life throws a punch. A man who isn't reactive. Who doesn't explode, beg, chase, or collapse under pressure. In a world full of emotional chaos, a man with inner stillness becomes a lighthouse. Steady, grounded, unshakable. And do you know what stillness creates? Safety. Women don't want a man who's perfect, but they crave a man who's safe. Safe doesn't mean boring, it means consistent. It means she can feel her own storms and know you won't drown with her. That you'll hold your ground. That you'll be her calm when everything else falls apart. Now let's go deeper. Irresistibility isn't built in one day. It's not about one trait. It's about the way they all weave together. You become magnetic when your words match your actions. When you say you'll call, and you do. When you say you're done, and you mean it. When you don't bluff, don't play, don't promise the world to get what you want. That kind of alignment, between your word and your will, is rare. And when a woman senses it, she relaxes. She trusts. She lets down her guard. Because trust is sexy. Reliability is sexy. In a world of men who flake, fake, and vanish, being solid is irresistible. But it only works when it's real. When your confidence isn't a costume. When it's built on something deeper than image. Something earned. Something internal. Here's the truth. A man becomes irresistible the day he stops needing to be. When he's no longer chasing validation. No longer bending himself to be liked. No longer seeking approval in every glance. That kind of man becomes gravity, and everything else begins to orbit around him. You've seen it before. Maybe in a friend, maybe in a stranger. That guy who walks in, doesn't say much, but somehow the women are drawn to him. It's not magic. It's not mystery. It's centeredness. He's rooted, not in ego, but in identity. He knows who he is. And more importantly, he knows who he's not. Women can spot that from across the room. They don't fall for the loudest guy. They fall for the one who makes them feel something they didn't even know they were missing. Safety, excitement, curiosity, depth. And that man could be you. Because all of these things, silence, presence, stillness, consistency, aren't gifts. They're choices, habits, muscles you build, fires you light, parts of you that have always been there, waiting to be claimed. You don't need to become someone else to be irresistible. You just need to come home to the strongest version of yourself. Let's keep going. There's something else women notice, before your style, before your looks, before you even open your mouth. It's not your height, your status, or your money. It's your eyes. But not just how they look, it's what's behind them. And that leads us to the next hidden force. You are irresistible when you carry purpose in your gaze. Not neediness. Not confusion. Not boredom. But direction, fire, intention. A man who knows where he's going, even if he's not there yet, has a look in his eyes that says, I'm building something. I'm becoming someone. That energy, it's magnetic. Purpose doesn't mean you have your life figured out. It means you're moving forward. You're not drifting. You're not wasting days. You're not waiting for life to happen to you. You're driving your life. Every day you wake up and push towards something that matters to you, your craft, your mission, your growth. You become more attractive. Not just because of the result, but because of the spirit it gives you. Women don't want to be your purpose, but they want to feel the heat of it. They want to be close to a man on fire, not a man begging to be saved from his own emptiness. You want to be unforgettable, then fall in love with your life first. Your passions, your goals, your evolution, that glow, that hunger, that's what pulls her in. And now we come to something that most men misunderstand entirely. You are not irresistible because you're always in control. You are irresistible because you're in touch with your emotions, with your body, with your truth. That's the next thing that separates a boy from a man. Boys hide. They mask their pain, their fear, their need for affection behind ego or arrogance. They laugh things off, bury feelings, or explode when they can't hold them anymore. But real men, they feel, fully, without shame. You don't have to cry in front of her. But if you can be honest about your fears, if you can open up without making it her job to fix you, she will feel something rare. She will feel safe to be herself too. Because a man who can handle his emotions is the only kind of man who can handle hers. And that's the paradox. The more emotionally aware you are, the more powerful you become. Not weaker, stronger. Because emotional intelligence gives you control over yourself. It gives you clarity. It gives you depth. And depth is irresistible. A man with emotional depth is a man who's lived, who's learned, who's faced darkness and didn't run. There's nothing more attractive than a man who's been through hell, and came back with wisdom, not scars. You want to know what else turns women on? The way you treat others when no one's watching. That's the next hidden power. You think she's not watching when you speak to the waiter, when you talk to the taxi driver, when you speak about your ex. She's always watching. She's reading between the lines. And if she sees kindness, not weakness, but grounded, quiet kindness, it changes everything. Because kindness from a strong man is one of the rarest, sexiest combinations there is. It means you don't need to dominate to feel powerful. You don't need to humiliate to prove your strength. You give respect, even when you don't need to. And that tells her something primal. If he treats them like this, imagine how he'll treat me. Women remember how you make people feel. They remember how you move through the world. And they know the man who leaves a trail of dignity behind him is a man worth trusting. Let's go even deeper. You are irresistible when you don't chase approval. You don't ask for permission to exist. You don't look around to see if people like your choices. You do what's right for you, and you own it. That kind of unapologetic authenticity is electric. Most men change their shape depending on who they're with. Around one group, they're loud and tough. Around another, they're agreeable and soft. But the man who is the same no matter who's watching, he's unforgettable. Why? Because you can't manipulate him. You can't bend him. He won't betray himself just to be liked. And women sense that. It makes them feel both intrigued and safe. Safe, because they know he won't fake it. Intrigued, because they can't predict him. He's real. He's consistent. And consistency is hotter than any flex you could post online. Now listen closely. There's one more thing that runs through all the others. The thread that ties everything together. You are irresistible when you have nothing to prove. Nothing. Not your masculinity. Not your strength. Not your status. You just are. And that confidence, that calm certainty, it's the rarest thing in the world. It can't be faked. It can't be bought. It can only be earned by a man who has met himself fully and decided, I'm enough. You're not trying to impress. You're not trying to seduce. You're not playing a part. You're just standing there, real, grounded, alive, and she feels it in her bones. Not because of what you say, but because of who you are when you say nothing at all. Let me tell you something nobody teaches men growing up. You don't win a woman's heart by convincing her. You win it by being someone she can feel. Not someone who performs, but someone who radiates. And do you know what radiates louder than charm, louder than looks, louder than all the clever lines you've memorized? Peace. That's the seventh hidden force. Peace. The man who carries peace inside him becomes a sanctuary for every woman who's tired of games, of chaos, of men who are only half present, half sincere, half grown. When a woman feels your peace, she relaxes. Her shoulders drop, her guard softens. Because she knows, whether she realizes it consciously or not, that your peace cannot be faked. She notices how you handle stress, how you treat yourself in hard times, whether you get shaken by small things, or stay centered when others crumble. You don't need to be a Zen monk, but if you've built enough inner clarity to stay calm while others lose their minds, you've built one of the most seductive things a man can have: emotional gravity. Peace tells her that you're not going to become a storm in her life, that you won't add to her chaos, you'll calm it. And that calmness, that depth, that's something she'll come back to again and again, because peace is the most attractive energy in a world full of noise. But here's the truth, peace doesn't mean passivity. That's the mistake weak men make. They confuse being harmless with being kind, being quiet with being wise. But peace without power is nothing. And that's why the eighth and final quality that makes you truly irresistible is this. You have a dark side, but you've made peace with it. Let me explain. Every man has shadow in him: rage, desire, hunger, darkness. Most men either repress it or let it explode. But the man who can face that shadow, who can understand it, who can channel it, that man becomes truly powerful. Not dangerous in a reckless way, dangerous in a controlled way. And that's the kind of danger women are drawn to. The kind that says, I'm strong enough to hurt, but I won't, unless I have to. She doesn't want you to be soft. She wants to know you could destroy, but you choose to protect. She wants to feel the storm inside you, and the discipline you've built to hold it. That edge, that restraint, it creates tension, electricity, attraction. You want her to look at you and feel both safe and excited. Then stop hiding your fire. But don't let it burn everything down, either. Let it simmer behind your eyes. Let it move through your voice, your walk, your presence. That's what a real man is, not cold, not wild, but controlled power. So now we've laid it all out. All 8 invisible things that make you magnetic, without ever saying the word. Your silence, your presence, your stillness, your purpose, your emotional depth, your quiet strength, your peace, your power. None of them can be faked. None of them come from approval. And none of them depend on her opinion of you. Because that's the twist. You become irresistible to women the moment you no longer need to be. When you are more focused on being a man you respect, than on being a man she wants. When you live your truth, not for applause, but because it's who you are. And when she sees that, she feels it, deep in her body. It's not logic. It's not checklist attraction. It's instinct. It's the kind of instinct that tells her, this man is different. Because you're not chasing her. You're not performing. You're not desperate for validation. You're just there, present, real, focused, calm, whole. And here's the irony. When you stop chasing women, and start chasing your own greatness, that's when they start chasing you. Not because you're trying to be someone else, but because you've finally become the version of yourself that doesn't need anything from anyone. You're full. And fullness is the ultimate seduction. Because a man who doesn't need, is free. A man who's free, is attractive. A man who's attractive, without trying, is irresistible. So don't memorize lines. Don't fake confidence. Don't become louder or richer or flashier. Become still. Become clear. Become the man whose presence says it all. And let her feel the gravity of a man who's not waiting to be chosen, because he already chose himself. That's who you are now. And the world will notice. You know what's funny? Most men spend their lives asking the wrong questions. How do I get her to like me? What should I text her? How do I become more attractive? And that's exactly why they lose. Because the moment you place her opinion above your identity, you've already lost her. The moment you ask what she wants, before asking what kind of man you are, you've already given your power away. The truth is, she doesn't even want you to chase her. Not really. She wants to feel you. She wants to be drawn into your world, not because you pulled her in, but because you were already standing there, rooted in something real, something powerful, something rare. That's what's so misunderstood about attraction. It's not something you do. It's something you are. And it happens in silence. In posture. In eye contact. In how you carry pain. In how you handle disappointment. In whether you collapse, or stand taller after life hits you. Because every man will be tested. Not just by women, but by life itself. And that's where the real difference is made. Not in the good times, but in the storm. That's when she watches you closest. When the deal falls through. When your body fails. When your plans break. When the people you loved leave. That's when she sees who you really are. And if you stay composed, if you stay grounded, if you keep leading yourself even when the road disappears beneath you, she will never forget you. Why? Because now, it's not just about attraction. It's about aura. Aura is what a woman feels from you when you enter the room. It's the weight of your presence. The warmth, or cold, of your energy. It's not something she can describe. It's not something you can fake. But when you've lived through enough fire and refused to let it harden you, when you've been humbled by pain but never broken by it, your aura changes. You no longer walk to impress. You walk in truth. You no longer speak to be liked. You speak with clarity. You no longer reach for validation. You're already full. And that fullness, that's what creates the pull. You see, most men think attraction is about how loud they roar. But women, they hear in frequencies most men don't even know they're emitting. They hear your insecurities even when you're laughing. They feel your neediness even when you say, "I'm fine." They sense your fear even when you act tough. But they also feel your peace, your focus, your discipline, your restraint, your patience. And those things, those are the real weapons. A patient man is rare. A calm man is rare. A man who doesn't brag, doesn't beg, doesn't fold under pressure, that man is rare. And in a world full of noise, rare becomes irresistible. So if you've been asking the wrong questions, stop. Stop asking how to be liked. Start asking how to become unshakable, how to become honest, how to become complete. Because you don't need tricks. You don't need strategies. You don't need to pretend. You just need to become him. The man who lives by principles. Who doesn't betray himself to win anyone's affection. Who builds a life so rich, so focused, so alive, that when a woman enters it, she doesn't feel like she's saving you. She feels like she's lucky just to be let in. That's the man she can't forget. Not because of what he gave her, but because of what she felt around him. Safe, alive, seen. And those are the feelings that stay long after the conversation ends. Long after the lights go out. Long after the body fades. What remains is energy, essence, memory. You want to be unforgettable? Then live like it. Don't wait until you're ready. Don't wait until you have more money, more muscle, more confidence. That version of you is a mirage. The one who becomes attractive later is just the excuse you use to avoid becoming powerful now. You are not missing anything. You're just distracted. Distracted by the external, by status, by opinions, by social media lies. But deep down, you've always known the truth. You've always known there's another level. A version of you that doesn't chase, doesn't fear, doesn't pretend. A version of you that listens more, walks slower, speaks less, but every word lands like thunder. That version of you doesn't apologize for being intense, doesn't hide his edge, doesn't water himself down to make others comfortable. That version of you is already in you, waiting for the moment you stop performing, and start becoming. So start now, put down the mask, walk into the fire, say what you really think, set the boundary, leave what drains you, train harder, sleep deeper, read more, build your world, because that's what women want, whether they admit it or not. A man who is his own sun, a man who doesn't orbit, a man who shines. And when you become that man, you won't have to chase, you won't have to beg, you won't even have to ask. She'll feel it, and she'll come closer, not because you needed her to, but because she couldn't stay away.